The U.S. Senate is not a place surprises usually happen. It is where legislation goes to cool, where things are debated and planned and voted, votes are counted and recounted before bills get anywhere near a vote. So this afternoon, all the C-SPAN geeks here at this show just about had cardiac arrhythmia in our newsroom when Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid took to the Senate floor to sort of suddenly and unexpectedly call for a vote on the Defense Authorization Bill, the bill to fund the military, the National Defense Authorization Act. It is passed every year. It has passed every year for 48 years. It is also the bill that this year contains the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Senator Harry Reid and Senator Susan Collins of Maine were reportedly working on a deal for how many amendments would be allowed to the bill, how much time would be allotted to it for debate. Before word of any agreement on those issues, unexpectedly, Senator Reid called for a vote.
So in my effort to get this done, I don't know how I could have been more reasonable, but despite the critical importance for our troops, for our nation, and for justice, we get this done, we haven't been able to reach agreement. So I regret to say it's our troops who will pay the price for our inability to overcome partisan political posturing. And I would move now to reconsider the vote that's previously been made on this matter. And consider a vote. The Senate did.
On this vote, the yeas are 57, the nays are 40. 3/5 of senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to.
57 to 40. It failed because majority doesn't rule in this version of the Senate. The Republicans filibuster everything, so only overwhelming supermajorities can vote to do anything. 57 votes doesn't buy you enough. Senators like Democrat Joe Manchin and Republicans Scott Brown, Lisa Murkowski, John Ensign, George Voinovich all voted no today, despite previous indications that they'd at least consider voting for repeal. The lead Republican negotiator, Susan Collins, did vote for repeal. Arkansas Democrat Blanche Lincoln did not vote at all. Like us, she was caught off guard as well. She was at the dentist office. She couldn't make it back to the Senate in time, though she says if she had, she would have voted for repeal. What now? Is the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell dead? Is that it? The answer is maybe yes, maybe no, but mostly just maybe. At a press conference following the vote, Senator Joe Lieberman of Connecticut said that he would like to pursue the repeal as its own bill, separate from the defense bill, in this lame duck session. Senator Lieberman also said he had the support of Mr. Reid to use a procedure mysteriously called Rule 14. Rule 14 allows a bill to go straight to the floor bypassing the normal committee process, which means it might actually still have time to pass. Might have time to pass as a standalone bill. Now, of course, it would have to pass the House as well. This is a whole new idea. It's previously been attached to the defense bill. Now they're going to separate it out and do it as a standalone thing. They're going to do that in the Senate, and they think they have time to do it. If they use Rule 14, it doesn't have to go through the committee process. It just goes straight to the floor. The Senate says if they do it in the right order, if they do it with the right things having been agreed to, they think they've got the 60 votes to pass repeal. So it could pass the Senate if all those things fall into place. But it also has to pass the House. Is there time for that as well? In a statement today, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said the House in this case could be counted on. She said, quote, "An army of allies stands ready in the House to pass a standalone repeal of the discriminatory policy once the Senate acts." An army of allies. Joining us now is Aubrey Sarvis, Executive Director of the Service Members Legal Defense Network. Mr. Sarvis, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Were you surprised by Senator Reid's choice today to bring this to a cloture vote? Did you have warning this was going to happen this way?
I was not surprised. Look, repeal advocates have been asking the majority leader to bring this bill to the floor of the Senate for months. We have wanted a vote. We should not have been surprised. This vote was overdue. The Defense Authorization Bill has been held hostage for almost 5 months now by those who want to put tax cuts first. This is what this debate has been about for far too long.
If the repeal does become a standalone bill and it gets separated off from the Defense Authorization Bill, as Senator Lieberman suggested today, what do you think the fate of the bill is in that circumstance? Does it have a chance of actually happening before the end of the lame duck?
Rachel, we're still alive. It has a good chance. And let me tell you what the bill number is. I missed part of your setup, unfortunately. But earlier today, after the vote, Senator Lieberman, Senator Collins, Senator Mark Udall of Colorado, and Senator Gillibrand introduced S4022. S4022. That's the new bill, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Repeal Act of 2010. That's what we're focused on. And yes, I believe we can get this done in the lame duck.
This is, to be clear, this is the language that's directly lifted from the portion of the Defense Authorization Act that is still being filibustered at this point.
That's
so the language
correct.
is nothing new for senators or members of the House, for that matter, to be considering. This is language they will have seen before as part of the defense bill.
Rachel, it hasn't changed whatsoever. This is the language reported out of the Senate Armed Services Committee in May. This is the language in its entirety that passed the House in May. This is the language that all repeal advocates need to get behind. This is the language that we need the House and the Senate to move on in the next 2 weeks.
Aubrey, over the next 2 weeks, obviously this issue is going to stay as volatile and as interesting as it has been in recent weeks. I do have to ask you, though, what you would say, what you would like to say to gay active duty service members tonight. We know there are a lot of gay people in the military. Do you have advice for them or explanation for them that you think they need to hear?
Well, first, I want to say to them how sorry I am that this vote failed today. We came up 3 short, and let's not beat around the bush about that. But let me say to those service members, and we're talking about 66,000 service members who are on active duty around the world tonight. We failed earlier today, but we can get it done in the lame duck. But I also have to say to those service members tonight, Rachel, it is still not safe to come out. Unfortunately, you must continue to be silent about your sexual orientation, or you face the real possibility that you could be discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. But I pledge to them that we will work over the next 2 to 3 weeks to make this happen. And I call upon the House and the Senate to honor these service members by making this a priority. I call upon the House and the Senate, do not go on your holiday vacation until you get this done. You owe this to these service members.
Aubrey Sarvis, Executive Director of the Service Members Legal Defense Network. Mr. Sarvis, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Rachel.